everybody, it's Claire here from Sewn by Claire and we're ready for another update on the Secret Quilt project. Now we're on to, I think, part 4 of the updates and we're still getting hearts in, which is great. So I've had a whole bunch more in, which I've sewn onto the background fabrics, and we've actually managed to complete now 3 trips around our medallion. So let me just show you how this is looking now, because it's looking great, and it's getting more impactful the more names we are getting on the quilt. So we've got 3 full rows round the centre medallion, and I've also now embroidered the centre medallion, as I said. Let me just get it the right way up. Let me just show you that bit. So that now says, if you can read it, Gracias Mitred, and then 2010 to 2025. Light's not brilliant because it's quite pale. So that's all coming together nicely and everything's looking how I want it to, which is great. And so I was going to talk to you about sort of trying to place these alongside each other, because as in the blocks, because when I ordered the fabric, I ordered I think 5 fabrics that I were hoping were all going to play nicely together, all from the same range, so they should have done. But one of them was a quite a bright blue check, royal blue check, and for my mind it just didn't fit in with that turquoisey muted blue that I wanted, so then I ditched that one. Anyway, we ended up with only 3 fabrics for the backing fabrics, which isn't a lot, for a variety of reasons, and that's sort of resulted as well in having to put these sort of sashing blocks in between, just so that we sort of created some delineation. But so far, and I've got my fingers crossed really hard here, we've actually managed, or I've actually managed, should I say, to place all of these blocks so that no 2 background fabrics are together. And I know that sounds really strange, but I have managed it. And I've been really careful, and I'm also sort of spacing out the pink and the blue blocks as well, just so that there's that variety there. I have put a final date now on collecting the hearts on, because we go away on holiday on Sunday and I'm away for a week, and then also I've put the Monday after I come back as being the final date for the hearts to come back. So I'm hoping to create a sense of urgency, because obviously I've still got to order the backing fabric, and I've still got to order the order the backing fabric and any border fabric I want to go around it, and until I know the final size I can't tell how much fabric to order. So I'm not quite getting a little bit anxious, but it's in the back of my mind that we're going to run out of time if we're not careful. Now, I know how I'm going to quilt it simple terms, and then any time I get, once we're moved on from there, then I can still keep on embroidering the hearts, not embroidering, quilting around the hearts, even after the quilt has been made up and the edging has been put on, because so long as we've done these cross sort of like sashing strips, that will hold the quilt together and that will be enough. But if you remember, I wanted to go around each of the hearts in blue, and that might just be a step too far. But you never know until you get going, do you really? So we're going to keep trying. So yeah, so for now I've had enough hearts in to make another row. So I'd laid them all out and I'm just sewing them together now. So I just thought I'd show you how this kind of goes, because before I mentioned about them going in strips, and this is what I'm sort of making them into first of all, is strips like this. So I cut out some 5" by 1" little cream fabric sashing strips, and I'm sewing these now onto a row, and then there'll be another sashing strip that goes on the bottom here before this gets attached to the quilt. Because we've got the 2, I'm going to have, this isn't a full row, it's only part of the row, but because we've got the 2 on point that start and finish the edges, then this one has to wait until the other 2 sides have been put on first, one on the left and one on the right, and then the top and bottom can be put on, because the top and bottom have the hearts on point on them. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. So we're well over 60 names now on the quilt, which is fabulous. I know Lena's messaged me to say she's got another 6 blocks, and I know people are still asking for them. So we're hopeful that we can get at least another way round. If we don't manage another complete circle round the block, because at the moment I think we're on to 10 in the middle, No, we're on to 8 in the middle at the moment. What we've got here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, so we're on 8 square blocks with the points down on the just square, and then we've got the 2 end ones. So there's 8 in the middle, and then the 2 on either side. So 10 to this row, and then just 8 to the other 2 rows. And I think that when I counted last time, it was going to be 40. So there's enough to do another row round as well. So yeah, I just got to wait and see, really, haven't I? I'm not very good at waiting, am I? But yeah, so I'm putting this together. So I just thought it was interesting for you to see how I then sew a strip on this way down here, like that, and then flip that over. That gives the block on the edge there. And then I take the next block and then I sew it onto there and just create these, and there'll be 2 this way with the 2 points on the either side, 2 rows, and then there'll be 2 rows with just the 8 blocks on without these, and then you sew on the 2 8 blocks without these, and have an edging strip first, which is just a continuous piece of the cream, and I join it if I have to, and then that all fits together. So that's it for now, because as I say, I haven't got all the blocks in to do a complete strip round, but shortly I should have. So it's going to go quiet just for a little while whilst I trip off to my hollybobs, and then once I'm back, then we'll have another update, and I'll release that then as a part 4 with this one, just to see how we're getting on. So for now, I'm just going to sign off. Hopefully you're enjoying the progress, and I'll see you in about 10 days time. Okay, take care everybody, and I will speak to you soon. Bye. Hello everybody, it's Claire again, and we're at least another week on, if not another 10 days. We're at the 30th of April now. We've had our week in Italy and Lake Garda, and whilst I was away, then the rest of the hearts were being distributed and then given back in again and being embroidered by Lena. So thank you to Lena so much for embroidering probably quite a few of these names, probably about 100 I would have thought. A lot of people have done their own, but and that's always lovely to see, but I think Lena, for anybody who hadn't had the time or who's away and who couldn't get a heart back in time, she's been embroidering those, so thank you to Lena. So now the deadline has passed in order for everybody to get their hearts back to me, so that we could then compile the quilt top, measure it all up, decide on all the borders, and then get everything together. Sorry about the road noise, I've got the window open, and we've got a rainy day here today. So yeah, so we've got a really rainy day here in Spain, so apologies for that, this car's just going backwards and forwards and I've got the window open. So yeah, so we've got all the hearts back now, both the blank ones and the ones that have been written on with the names and have been embroidered. I think I've got about, well, probably over 20 of them, maybe 20 to 30 that haven't been written on. But what I've done is I've incorporated those into the quilt top anyway, because then if people come out of the woodwork after the event, I mean, Lulu told me about a woman and 2 daughters who want to sign, but I needed everything back so that we could get everything together. So what I'm saying is that once the quilt top is started to be sandwiched together, then people can either pop over to my house, or I can pop into Benavice with the quilt one day and arrange for everybody to be in the same place at the same time, and then those that are there will then sign, and I'll embroider those without them you know, whilst it's sandwiched together. I won't go right through to the back end. It's not quite so easy, but it is doable, so we can still capture those names. And even at the presentation, if some people decide that they want to sign as well, past students, then there's room on the quilt for them to be able to do that. So in actual fact, I'm quite happy about that, because that's better than having to tell them that there's no room left and that people can't be included. And also just on that, whilst we're on that train of thought, the other thought is that I've got is that if all of the blank ones on the front go, then I can always make some spare hearts up for people to sign, and then I can applique those onto the back of the quilt as well. So that's another option as well. It's not quite perfect, but I'm sure I can make it look tidy enough. But it's at least not going to hold up the quilting process, which is really important. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. We've had a really interesting week, because I say we got back from Lake Garda and went to Italy for a week, and that was really nice. It wasn't as quite as restful as you might think, because we were out and about and what have you. And then when we got back late on the Sunday night, and then on the Monday I went off to my sewing class as normal, and then about 12:30 all the power went off. So we thought it was just the village, because sometimes it does happen in different situations that the electricity does go off. So I didn't think anything of it. So of course we sort of did what we were doing and just chatting, and then when it was time to pack up for the class, we packed up and then went home, and I didn't need to go through any traffic lights or anything like that, so I didn't notice anything was wrong. Anyway, get back home again and everything's all dark. Tried to put the metal shutters up that we have, that are security shutters on the windows, and nothing would budge. And then tried to put the lights on, nothing would budge. So I checked the circuit and the trip switch hadn't gone. And then it turned out that the whole of Spain, and I believe France and Portugal and some of Belgium as well, and Holland, had all been without power for the last hour. So that was a really, really strange world event, which I'm just going to record here just for posterity, really, because it was just so surreal that the whole of a country had no electricity whatsoever. You know, and when you know, so that's of course all the internet went down, all the phone signals went down, the radio stations, they weren't able to broadcast. Hospitals luckily tripped straight over into their emergency measures and they were okay. But I think traffic lights weren't working, freezers in the shops weren't working, point of sales for paying for the goods weren't working. You know, it's just really crazy how fast it all escalated. And because we were planning on going shopping that afternoon, and we hadn't done because we'd only got back from Lake Garda the night before. So yeah, so we didn't really have a lot in. So I was scratching around in the tins. I thought, don't open the fridge, don't open the freezer, it'll start and warm everything up. And so I think we had a couple of tins of pineapple and a couple of apples and some cheese crackers for our dinner that night, but luckily it came on again about 7:30, so we weren't off for too long. But at that stage, when there's no news coming through, and nothing's working, then you just don't know. I mean, there's no, you know, to pump the water through to the pipes, you know, all that could have dried up. I've got visions of the supermarkets having problems. So, of course, I was into chief post-apocalyptic planning, you know, we need to ration the water and ration the tinned goods. And Rob's like, oh, it'll be on in a couple of hours, stop worrying, woman. So it was quite an interesting the yin and the yang of it, and how that all worked out. But the good news is, by 7:30 that night, everything had come back up again, and of course it's another worldwide event in order to tell everybody. So yeah, so we're doing okay. So what day is it today? It's Wednesday today. So Tuesday, once, because I couldn't do anything Monday night, so I did a bit Monday night, but then Tuesday, although I did start to do a lot of the cutting out. So I did think that whilst the electricity was off, I took everything outside so I could see, because of course the apartment was quite dark. And I could see outside, so I was cutting all the background squares that we had left to do, and I was sorting out the layout as best as I could. So what I did was I laid it out on the top of the bed in the bedroom, in order that I could plan the background squares first, and then I put the hearts on top, then pin that together. And then I needed to cut the sashing strips as well, which is another story, because when I was doing the sashing strips, I got each 5-inch square, which is the cut size, so 4.5-inch finish size with the heart on it, the background squares. They've all got sashing all the way around them, so I needed to cut all of those out, and I was working from a bit of fabric that I'd got left over from a quilt I'd done for our second bedroom. And yeah, so I've used all of that up, and literally there wasn't a millimetre to spare. Seriously, when I got to the end of it, it matched perfectly end of the seam. It was a bit like playing bobbing chicken on your sewing machine, when you've got about, you know, that much thread left and it just manages to get to the end of the seam, and you always think it's quite a triumph. Well, I was trying to think in my head, how can I plan this quilt if I've not got enough fabric? And whilst I could order it again, it's this one here that I was using, which is the Makawa linen texture. I hadn't got the exact colour, the reference number for the colour. I bought it for a project and I can't find the pattern for it, so I'm not sure what colour it is. So I'm going to have to, so what I've done is I've had to go online, and I found that Quorn Country Crafts stock Makawa, and they've got linen texture in. So I'm going to have to go while because I'm flying again to the UK on Friday to see Harriet, our new granddaughter, and I'm going to have a look there and then pick up some more of the linen texture in order to work through on that one. So I'll show you some pictures anyway of the finished quilt. I'll insert a picture here anyway so you can start to see it. And it's looking really, really good. We've actually got 5 rows round the centre medallion, and I'd only planned on 4, so of course this is getting bigger and bigger, which obviously is then, as anybody will know, is a bit more unwieldy really. And the bed that the quilt is pictured on is a super king size, so it's not, by the time I put the borders on, it's going to be almost the width of that super king size, which is not far off 2 metres, so that's going to be interesting. But anyway, so yeah, I wanted to work out the border. So Rob's very good at the math, so he helps me with all of that and how much fabric to order. So I've ordered 5.5 metres to cover the 3-inch border around the edge. I need 1/4 metre of this one because it cuts into 1-inch strips in order to do another, just the finishing off edging strip around the top. You'll see it in a minute. I'll go in and show you. And then I've got a 3-inch border of the polka dot fabric, and the one that I'm using is, hold on a second, the one that I'm using is this one here, which is the azul blue, because the Spanish use a lot of polka dots for their flamenco dresses, and it's a very popular design, if you like, so that's why I've chosen that one, and it is part of the range. And if you remember, this fabric here is the middle of the circle in the Dresden plate as well, so that's going to just tie that back in again. And I've chosen to go for the same backing, the same border, and the same binding as well all the way round, because I think that's more economical with the fabric, but also I think it'll be more cohesive because of the pattern being quite busy. Then I didn't want to complicate it any more than I already have done. And being as I'm making it up as I go along, I didn't want to complicate it any more than I have done. So it's coming together really, really nicely. I'm thrilled with how it's looking. I've sort of measured out my batting as well, and I'll show you when I do that as well. And you can join batting together by zigzagging it together, or by doing a loose like over stitch without a hump, just sort of lie the 2 pieces butting up to each other, and then you can do quite a big over stitch like that, just to join them together, because it's actually the quilting itself that will keep the batting together underneath, but you need something just to hold those edges together while you're working with it. And I've just got enough of my 100% wool batting left that I got in my stash, so that saved us some more money on it there, which is great. But I think it gives it a nice softness and a nice loft anyway, and obviously it makes it just nice and cosy. So that's where we are. So let me take you in the other room and let me just show you the quilt and how it's coming together. And excuse the messiness in the bedroom. I think it's not too bad. But it's a bit like creative mess. It's that's the way it goes. But you're not bothered about that because you know what it's like in your sewing rooms anyway. So let me take you through and I'll show you. Okay, so excuse the echoey sound and any running water you hear. That's because we've got internal drainage pipes here in Spain, and so the water runs through and makes a right racket. I need to ditch down so you can see me. But I wanted you to see the quilt. So we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows all the way round, and I've done all of the sashing in between here. Just needs a press, which I've not had a chance to do yet, and it's got the sashing down. But what I feel that it needs is it needs the final edge going onto this side. Oh, can't see just there. Just here, look, on the edge there. All of these just finish straight onto the back, onto the white of the bedspread. So they need this cream sashing around there just to finish it off. Let me just go and get the dotty fabric. Hold on 1 second. So I'll when I'm editing this, I'll zoom in a bit so you'll be able to see. I'll just move it across a bit. So what I'm planning on doing is using this as a narrow border. I'll put this underneath just so that you can see this. About 3 inches I'm thinking will be enough. It's just really just to frame it. It's a bit more than 3 inches, isn't it? See, if I was professional, I'd have had all this lined out for you. And what I'm going to do is, this is just an offcut of the binding fabric that wasn't quite wide enough. So that's going to finish off there, and then it's going to go onto this binding. I'll zoom in so you can see. And I think that then will finish off these. I don't think that I can go straight from these patterns straight onto the fabric when I've been doing all of this sashing all the way around. So I think just having that same size sashing going across each of the, around all the 4 edges before then going on to the border will then just set it, and then this border matches in with the centre of the border of the centre of the flower there, the Dresden plate there, so that will then work. This is the theory. And then the binding will be in the same fabric, and then the backing will be in the same fabric here as well. So, and that's why I've ordered 5.5 metres of this, because the quilt is almost 2 metres. I think it's going to be about 180 by 180 when it's finished centimetres. So it's quite big. I'll just show you how this is looking a bit more close up as well. So I mean, some people have done some beautiful personalisation of their hearts. Got a little bit off-piste with it, as we were hoping, but you know, than we were hoping. But they are, you know, looking really, really lovely there, and people have just done. And there's some blank ones there. So again, people can write their name on these, and then we can embroider them after. So there's just a few of those in there. I think there was about 144 hearts in total if everything was used up. So what I've done is I've laid that down, and then I've kind of used a long tape measure to measure how much the border is going to be, in order that I can then get some idea of what size the finished quilt is going to be. And then I've got my batting, which is here. And then what I did was I just laid this over the top of the quilt, because it's got to overhang slightly when you're quilting it, just in case the top shifts at all. So let me just pop this on so you can see. So if I take that sort of like to the end of the bed, that should be enough. And then to the end of the bed here, and I've still got about 1/2 metre there, maybe not quite 1/2 metre, but enough there, because this doesn't quite, as you can see, it doesn't quite go all the way across, and I need to have an overhang this side too. So that's about like that, excuse me going in front of the camera. And then this piece here, which is an offcut I've used from a different, same fabric but offcut from a different quilt, then I can use this. And if I move that across there, it'll be easier for you to see the gap. So we've got a strip down the middle that we need to cover. So I can cut strips off this end here, the spare here, and then I'll use that to fill in that centre section there, so that that then fits in there. So I'm happy with that. So it's basically now, let me just sit on the bed. It's basically now waiting for the fabric to come in, and I've ordered it on next day delivery because I've ordered it from the UK. And I needed it to get there, definitely, so that I could pick it up, because there was no point, I couldn't get everything I wanted from here. So therefore I thought, well, if I go to the UK and I order it on next day there, I know at least I can pick it up and bring it back with me. And I need to go to Quorn Country Crafts anyway to get the Macawa thing. And I'm going to take that little sample with me. But where's it gone? If I've not lost it. You know that little strip sample I had of the... oh, it'll be here somewhere. That little strip sample, I'm going to take that with me so I can match the colour perfectly, and that should hopefully be okay, because it's a standard fabric, so I think it should be fine in order to get that sorted. And then once I come back, then I'll join the back, cut the back in, join back in, no, I won't. I will do the borders first, do that last piece of sashing, add on the borders. I'm going to mitre my corner borders into the corner. And then once that's finished, I'll measure that completely now, to get it ironed and pressed, and then measure that for a final time, and then I'll sort out my backing, which will need to have a join down the middle at the back, but I'll try and get it to follow I'll try and pattern match it with the dot lines as much as possible, so it takes your eye away from the fact that it has been joined. Then I'll sandwich it, and then we're on to the hand quilting. And the hand quilting, what I'm thinking that I will do for that is that I want to... basically, I've got a cream embroidery flat thread, and I'm going to do a big stitch quilting down each of these, I'm going to call them the sashing strips, down each of those, and then again going across the other way. So each square will be outlined, but I'll just do it by doing the lines across. I've then got some blue thread, and I'm going to do a blue big stitch quilt round the edges of the Dresden, so that just accentuates those petals there. And then depending on, and then I'll get the sashing finish, the binding finish, and get it all bound, because any extra that I want to do then is purely voluntary. And what I thought was that I've got some blue thread and I was going to go around each heart, but that's when I thought there was going to be 4 rows and there's 5 rows. And I just don't, oh, I've just spotted one wrong way round. Oh, how does that happen? Oh, bother. So look at this one here, look. You might have seen it before. Look at Carlotta's heart. Wrong way round. It's going east to west and it should be going north to south. Oh, bother. Right, well that one's going to be unpicked then, isn't it, and sorted out. So I've got a bit of homework to do to get that sorted. I'm glad I spotted it now before I'd labelled it all up. Gosh, it just shows you, doesn't it? You have to be so careful with these things. But anyway, it's spotted now, so I can redo it. What I'll probably do is unpick the heart and change direction of the heart, because I think that'll be easier than undoing all the sashing and trying to do the sashing again. So yeah, so I'll be doing that in a short second. But that's the idea then, to get the hand quilting going and get that finished, and then we'll be then hopefully on the homeward stretch. So that's my update for today. It's coming together, and I will see you all soon. Take care, everybody.